Hi, thanks for watching. I apologize for the worse than normal quality of the video. I was cleaning my desk last week. I wrapped the cord around my webcam and stuck it somewhere. I don't remember where I stuck it. So I promise I'm going to find it before the next video, but I had to get this video out because I was so excited. So first of all, thank you to NetGalley for providing an eARC of John Gwynne's final book in the Bloodsworn Saga, The Fury of the Gods. I want to say that this is going to have spoilers from the first two books, The Shadow of the Gods and Hunger of the Gods. So if you haven't read those two books, particularly the end of Hunger of the Gods, I would not recommend watching this video just quite yet. So I did a review of Shadow of the Gods. I didn't do a review of Hunger of the Gods because I was in the middle of switching, like I was transferring from Ohio State University to Franklin University for reasons. And I had a lot going on. It was the summer, and I just didn't get around to doing the video, which is my bad. It has nothing to do with whether or not the book was good or bad, because it was just as good as, if not better than, Shadow of the Gods. So at the beginning of Shadow of the Gods, we meet Orca. Orca's husband Thorkel, who she was in the Bloodsworn with, the mercenaries, the Bloodsworn, has been murdered, and her son Brecca has been kidnapped. And I identify with Orca so much. My daughter will ask me the strangest questions sometimes. She'll ask me, Mom, what would you do if I was kidnapped? And my literal answer is usually, I would burn the fucking world down looking for you. So that you better not get kidnapped, because a lot of people are going to die. Um, so I identify with Orca on that level so bad. Like she left the Bloodsworn, who were her family and Thorkel's family, when she was pregnant with Brecca, because they wanted to give him a life away from that life. And so for her husband to be murdered and her son to be kidnapped, like she goes a little crazy. And so we have these two books of Orca basically slicing her way through everybody who gets in her way to find her son Brecca. Now, Brecca was part of a group of children who were stolen because they were tainted, which means that they have the blood of the gods running through their veins. And so you have Rada the rat, Likrifa the dragon, Ulfir the wolf, Snaka the snake. I think there were others mentioned. I think there was a weasel or something mentioned. Um, but the main ones in these books are going to be Snaka the snake, who is the father of the gods, and who created the world. And then you have his children, Ligri the dragon, Ulfir the wolf, and Rada the rat. Um, so these children are taken to be part of Ligrifa's plan to take over the world. Um, and she has convinced a lot of people, a lot of tainted, that they want to fight for her because she's going to set them free. Because anybody with tainted blood runs the risk of being thralled. And this is where Varg comes in. So at the beginning of the Shadow of the Gods, we meet Varg, who is a thralled tainted who murders his owner and runs away. Um, and he is taken in by the Battle Grim, and he's looking for, was it the Battle Grim? Yeah, it was a Battle Grim, right? Or was it the Bloodsworn? Oh my goodness. You're gonna have to forgive me. Like, it's really hard to keep up with all of these characters, especially like when some of them, like, their names are so close. Um, so yeah, he was taken in by the Bloodsworn. Okay, so Varg, he kills his owner who had him thralled. Thralling is, they put a collar on you, and you're compelled to do whatever it is that they say. You can't do anything against them. You can't plot against them. Um, and so, like, I forgot the, so Varg's owner tricked him. I think it was one of those situations where he's like, "Yeah, I'm going to set you free," and then no, he didn't set him free, and Varg killed him. And then he, of course, he's on the run. He gets taken in by the Bloodsworn, but he's also looking for the person who took his sister. His sister and him were really close, and I believe that they were both thralled by the same person, and then his sister was sold, and he found out that his sister died. And so Varg's whole thing is he's going to find his sister's killer, and he's going to kill his sister's killer. And so you have that goal as well. So you have Orca, she's looking for a son. You have Varg, he's looking for the person who killed his sister. And then you have Elvar. She is with the Battlegrim. Now, Glornir, I believe. Glornir was the chief of the Battlegrim. Elvar was a princess, so basically a princess. So you have Jarl Store. She's his daughter, but he beat her mom when her mom was alive. He doesn't really give Elvar any respect. He's all about his sons. And so Elvar leaves. She's like, I'm going to find my own battle fame. I'm going to find my own battle fame. I'm going to go kill people. I'm going to be a mercenary. I'm going to get rich. They're going to sing fair fame songs about me. It's going to be great. So she leaves. And then I believe it was Hunger of the Gods. Maybe it was Shadow of the Gods. I think it was Hunger of the Gods. Glornir dies. And Elvar battles one of the other Battlegrim in a Holmganga, which is basically a battle to the death, just to gain something. And in this case, she's gaining the right to be chief of the Battlegrim. So Elvar wins this. She's chief of the Battlegrim, and now she's got that leverage to gain the respect from her father, Jarl Store, because she's chief of the Battlegrim. I mean, they sing skald songs about the Battlegrim, so he has to respect her. So that's Elvar's goal. Meanwhile, you have Jarl Sigrun, who is, I guess, loyal to Queen Helga to a certain extent. And Sigrun is the aunt of Guthvar. Okay, so think the Hobbit and that sniveling weasel who is afraid of everything and only wants to, like, he wants people's respect, and that's basically who Guthvar is in these books. He's always got snot coming out of his nose. He's always wiping it away with the back of his hand. He doesn't understand why people don't respect him. He thinks that he deserves all the respect in the world. um, and so you have Sigrun and her nephew Guthvar, and Guthvar is a coward. Along the way, looking for her son, Orca runs into Lif and his brother, whose name is escaping me at the moment, and they are captured. And while Lif's brother is chained to the wall, Guthvar kills him like a coward. So now Lif he's sticking with Orca. He's like, you can't get rid of me. You're going to teach me how to be more than a farmer. And I am going to find this Guthvar who murdered my brother while he was chained like a fucking coward, and I'm going to murder him. So you have all of these characters who they have these people in mind that they're going to find and they're going to murder them. And most of these people are with Licrifa. So Fury of the Gods. And I got to tell you, like, I haven't read, don't all hate me at once. I haven't read, um, what is it? The George R. Martin books, Game of Thrones. I haven't read those, and I know that people talk a lot about how he's not afraid to get rid of main characters. And throughout Shadow of the Gods and Hunger of the Gods, you get vested into these characters, and you begin to really feel for them or hate them. In the case of Guthvar. And a couple other characters. I think Skulk was one of them. He was crazy. Skulk was crazy. So you get to the Fury of the Gods, and I mean, I don't want to tell you who died, but I will say that heroes died in this book, and it's building up, and people are coming closer to their goals, and slowly but surely, all of these people who have these things that they're working towards, these goals that make them keep going. Like they start achieving these goals. Well, when Elvar gets to her father's palace place thing, um, her goal is to get him, first of all, to respect her, and second of all, to join forces with the Bloodsworn, with the Battlegrim, against Lickrifa and all of her psychopath followers. And he's basically like, nah. But she's got gold. She's got so much gold. She's richer than her father is now because they found the god's gold when they were, I think they were where Lake Rifa had been released from. So she's got the fair fame. She's got the people standing behind her. She's got the riches, and he's still basically like, whatever, little girl. I mean, and then she ends up killing him. And after she kills her father, all of his Drengers and his thralled people basically pass to his oldest, which is one of her brothers, who is just gone nuts because she killed their dad. And I'm not going to give away too much, so I'm going to kind of stop there. Um, but it didn't turn out quite the way she wanted to. And so at this point, I mean, she has a lot of people behind her, and uh, so it's growing. This band of people who are moving against Lake Rifa are growing. Lake Rifa and Rada think that they have the upper hand. So Elvar thralled the wolf god Ulfrir. When they brought Ulfrir back to life, they had fashioned a thrall collar for him, and they thralled the god Ulfrir. And at this point, I mean, Ulfrir and this dark angel, winged woman, Skuld, um, they're both. Skuld is basically loyal to Ulfrir, and she goes where he goes. But I mean, they don't want Lake Rifa to win either. And so they've kind of joined forces with Elvar. Well, when they are at her father's castle kingdom, wherever, one of her Drengers, who is thralled, says, okay, so Lake Rifa's whole thing, the reason she has so many people behind her is because she's telling the thralls that she's going to let them go. You should let them go first, and then she won't have any leg to stand on with them because they're fighting against you, and basically anybody who's not standing with Lake Rifa, because the tainted don't want to be thralled anymore. They don't want to be afraid to live. They don't want to hide who they are anymore. And Elvar was basically like, "Are you crazy? No." Um, but then later, we find out that somebody who we had no idea was tainted. We find out that they were tainted, and there's this whole thing. Um, it's a great book. I was sad when some of the main characters died. Um, I think it was this one. I'm getting Hunger of the Gods and Fury of the Gods mixed up a little bit, but I think it was this one where they left Einar on an island with the tongue eaters. No, actually, I think that was Hunger of the Gods. They left Einar on an island with the tongue eaters, um, and some people who were trying to help Einar. The I forgot what they call him. He's not a troll, but he's big. Um, and he got a head wound there. They leave him there. They go back. They pick him up. Um, and one of the interesting things that Gwynne does in these books is he gets you to really despise Guthbar. I mean, like, he's a sniveling, snot-nosed coward, right? But the whole time, his aunt is like, "You are better than you think you are. You are better than they think you are. Yes, you might be afraid, but everybody's afraid." And so in the final battles, Guthbar is riding into battle with his aunt, and you're like, "What?" And he doesn't write as if every single hero is like some kind of non-emotional crazy person who just doesn't fear anything. Like, he gets into the emotions of these characters, even as they're slicing their way through so many people's bowels and eviscerating them and beheading them. Like, he gets into their feelings and their fears and the things that make them human. Um, and I mean, with Guthvar, like, you see the character progression with him. Like, he's no longer like he's almost losing his bowels, but he's no longer losing his bowels and running. But he's riding into battle with his aunt, and it is crazy. Like, that's something that you just didn't see coming, right? Like, um, and I mean, I'm not going to say that he turns into somebody really brave, but for a minute, he convinces himself that he can do it, and that's all that matters. And so, if we go back to the earlier books, I don't know if you read the books, you remember Bjor, he infiltrated the battleground, and he was with Elvar for a minute. And ever since betraying the battleground, he killed Glornir. He's the one who killed Glornir, who was the chief of the battleground before Elvar. And he killed Glornir. He saw Elvar look at him with just the most betrayed, heartbroken look on her face, and that hasn't left him since. But he doesn't for a minute think that he's in the wrong. And he believes wholeheartedly in what Ligrifa and Rada are trying to do, especially since Rada has convinced him that there is no other way. Like, they have to be the ones to release the thralls, the tainted from their thraldom. And but you see it, like, even when he's back with his original, like, lover Merc. I wouldn't call him girlfriend because it's not the it's different. It's not like they become boyfriend and girlfriend in this book, the characters, and then they get married, and then that's it. Like, with the mercenaries, there's a lot of humping going on, but there's not a lot of, like, dating. So but he's back with Merc, and Merc kind of sees that Elvar got to him somewhere in his heart, and Merc doesn't like that. And then Merc is murdered, and he is now on a blood quest vengeance thing to kill who murdered Merc. And he goes with Rada, and they infiltrate Ulfr's lair, because at some point Elvar is convinced to move away from Jarl Stor's kingdom, where they were, and move into Ulfr's lair, because Ulfr tells her, look, Grifa is going to think that I'm retreating because I'm weak and I haven't fully healed yet. And she's going to think that this is the way to attack, and that I'm going to be useless. Let her think that. Let her come here. And so they go to Ulfr's lair, and he shows Elvar around his lair, and he takes her to one of the ash trees, a huge ash tree that is growing through his lair. And he tells her there's a Froa spirit in this ash tree, which is like the tree folk in these tales. Um, we need to wake her up because she needs to know that you mean her no harm, and that you are not a usurper, that I am familiar with you, and that she is to trust you, because otherwise, if she wakes up and there's battle, she's just going to start killing everybody, including you. So that was it. I think that was a turning point, because at that point, Ulfr was basically telling Elvar, I am giving you my entire trust. Even if I die, I don't want you to fail. And so that that sinks into Elvar's mind and starts slowly, like, turning the gears in her head and making her rethink what her strategy is. And Grifa and her forces get close to Ulfr's lair, and Ulfr sends them out first. He sends some of the Bloodsworn and the Battlegrim out, and they attack Leogrifa's camp while they're sleeping, and then they disappear. Um, Leogrifa's camp, they're like, okay, well, where did they go? They're chasing them through the woods, and then they're gone. And I think it was Rada who was like, okay, there's tunnels here. Find the tunnels. And so they go, there's battles, there's multiple battles, and in each battle you have somebody else dying. Most of the ones who are dying are with Ligrifa, but you have a few of the characters who you've invested in for the last 3 books dropping and bleeding to death and being beheaded. Oh my goodness. So I gotta tell you, like I would lay in bed past my, like, the time that is past my bedtime that I will normally say, okay, I gotta go to bed now. It was past that. And I'm laying in bed and I'm reading, and like it got to the point where I was so vested in these battles and these books that I got sore. Like eventually, like I would realize that like I was tensed up and my neck was hurting, and I'd have to like mentally, like consciously, like relax and then get back to reading, and then it would happen again. Like I would tense up, and my heart was beating. Like I'm telling you, these battle scenes were phenomenal. They were crazy. Um, oh, okay. So obviously, I loved the book. It was the best of the three, and that's saying a lot because the other two were freaking awesome. So thank you so much to NetGalley again, and thank you to John Gwynne for finishing the series and writing these books because they are awesome. You have a fan, and I'm not just talking about like, oh, he's one of my favorite authors. Like I'm signing up. Like, do you have T-shirts? Do you have coffee mugs? Like, I will buy the merch. These are awesome books, and I can't wait to get started on reading some of John Gwynne's other stuff. This is the first series by John Gwynne that I've read. And I know that it's not the most popular one out there yet, but I haven't read the other series. I think it's Faithful and the Fallen was one of them, but I haven't read any of the other series yet. I gotta tell you, I can't see anything being better than these 3 books. So, but we'll see, and I'll eventually get some reviews up of some of his other books. But these are awesome, awesome books. So glad I got to read this in advance. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe below.